cricket now. The Sydney Test is 2 days away, but it isn't India's quest for 2-all that is in the news. The headline is about chaos in the dressing room and Gautam Gambhir, the coach, pulling up his colleagues saying, "Bahut ho gaya. I've had enough." These are reports coming from down under. Gambhir may have questioned the intent of a few players who chose their natural game over the team interest. India are currently 2-1 down in the series versus Australia, which is currently being played. Final test starts on the 3rd of January. To talk about what is happening in Down Under and how this drama in the Indian dressing room, as one would say, is playing out, I am joined by former India cricketer Atul Vasan and senior cricket journalist Sharda Ogra. Atul, let me come to you first. Virat Kohli has often used the word intent. Do you think that the players' intent now is not aligning with Gautam Gambhir's intent?
See, where, I'm sure they know inside that what they have to do, what is required of them. But, sometimes when you're playing across the formats, and especially with the newer guys, it's not really possible, because then this is how you played, this is how you made it big. And suddenly to change your natural game is not in the hands of or in the capacity of everybody. But it's a cliche more often than not when we hear that. But you should know what is required of you in the middle. But that natural game, which Gautam just spoke about, Cheteshwar Pujara, is not there anymore, because, this is the kind of problem we are facing. Because if we want players like Pujara, then you have to compensate them for not getting picked in the IPL or making the big money. Because any player who has the capacity to play like this is actually forced to play the big shots and showcase that he can also play big to get the contracts in this other formats. So just by saying this. That's why we can't find players who can just bat for a session, and unglamorous batting, dirty, ugly batting, test batting, and that is what is hurting India, because all the players had they made their name for big shots and flamboyant batting, and in test cricket it doesn't work all the time.
Sharda, isn't it ironic now that we are 2-1 down in the series that one is talking about Cheteshwar Pujara? Apparently, Gautam Gambhir wanted him in the side.
Rika, that's what the story that's coming out now. You know what, Cheteshwar Pujara, let me tell you, was missed from the time we were 46 all out against New Zealand as well. I was watching this game from the stands in Bangalore, and that's what all the fans were saying. Where is Puji? Where is Puji? We've seen him in the commentary box. What's happened with the case with this story, I think, Rika, it's a little bit off. We know it. We've been on tour as well. I'm sure Atul knows about 500 times more than we do, being part of teams, that this is almost like a balancing act that's come through, saying Gautam Gambhir is putting his word out that, look, this is what I think and this is what is happening. Because a few weeks before that, the story was, oh, nobody's talking to Gautam Gambhir, or Gautam Gambhir, or they're barely talking to each other. Those kind of rumors that you hear. So this is, I think, just a sort of balancing out of the equation and showing maybe the public, television anchors, whatever it is, of what's actually on in the team, which is definitely a sense of unease and not a very correct kind of, not a very settled environment is what's coming through. And we are seeing it in the way the team has performed, because the performances have been patchy, a little bit sporadic. You're not generally seeing a sense of oneness that you sometimes get a sense of. It could be,
right.
We are overreading that kind of a situation. Going by the results, we're kind of retrofitting it, but that's what it looks like at the moment.
Atul, would you say that the cohesiveness that we are talking about is not there in the Indian cricket team, or apparently it is lacking because the captain is off the boil?
I think that also actually makes a lot of difference when the captain is not scoring runs, and that's why, the way kind of aggressive leadership is missing, because you are yourself in that kind of a slump. But having said that, it's a team sport, but within this setup, cricket is an individual sport, because when you're batting, it's just you against that bowler. So if you just keep your micros in line, the macros fall in place. So I don't think so that cohesiveness. Even Wasim and Waqar didn't speak to each other for 2 years, and they just to spite each other, they used to take wickets. So it works for the team. Just do your job, what is required of you in micro, the next ball, the next session, the next 10 minutes, and everything just sorts itself out.
So, Atul, what you mean to say, basically, if there's performance, everything sorts out. If the performance doesn't come through, then all these other issues really gather steam.
Of course, yeah, you can be the best of the friends and you can show that, okay, we are eating together, living together, we are just a bunch of like a family. But then if that doesn't transpire into performances, then what good is that? So this cohesiveness is just like putting a band-aid on cancer. But the point is that people are not pulling their weight. And you are not strong enough as a team management or the selectors to just take hard calls. Because in this country, it is too much to ask for.
Shraddha, I have to ask you a rather Bollywoodish question. A few years ago, Shah Rukh Khan made a film called Chak De, in which he had said कि एक टीम में एक ही गुंडा रह सकता है, which means one team can have one leader. So would you say that, Gautam Gambhir, the kind of energy, the kind of enthusiasm that he brings to this sport, I mean, he is the superstar in the team right now, and all the other stars have now had to align with him or not, and the problem is that they are not aligning with him rather?
That's a great question, Rika, and a great quote from where you got it. It just somehow everything seems to fit in when you say that. But the other thing that also happens when teams are going through transition, which has been happening to us for quite a while now, is that there's a cycle which takes place. I mean, I'll get to your question. First the captain goes, then the coach. No, first the coach goes, then the captain goes, then the coach goes. So we're in that kind of cycle, and we've had a change of. I mean, the last coach sort of quit the job, and now it's the captain's under the block because he's not scoring runs as well. Can you have many personalities in a team? Of course you can. I mean, Atul will tell us about how many personalities existed in the teams that he played in, and all kinds of large personalities as well. Is it a question of, say, someone like Gambhir wanting to stamp his mark as a coach in a team with many young players? Perhaps that is so. We are just like sort of mind reading and reading it from outside when we are seeing it. But as Atul has said, performance is performance. You turn up and you turn up and you show up, and then the coach won't be able to say anything, because at one point the coach can't do much on a cricket field. But you need to have the performances. At the same time, you need to have what they say that when teams are doing badly, that's the time the coach has to step up and show what his abilities are like, his man management, as well as taking selection calls, your choice of 11, batting orders, all the rest of it. You also should be able to see the coach's presence at a time like this, not when the team's doing well, but rather when they're doing badly, and see him fronting up at press conferences also.
Atul, Gambhir's role right now is under the scanner. There are a lot of questions been asked whether Gautam Gambhir, who's been a great T20 coach, can, be a great test coach or a great, 50-over coach. What do you think about that?
Well, Sera, doesn't really matter now because, we are talking about what is going to go from here on. You've lost almost the chance to be in WCT, and, the next test match, if you win, at least we'll save some face because, then you have fought back, and then we can move on from there. But, take hard calls. If you are not happy with the Rishabh Pant's there's 2 or 3 bad shots in bad situations, drop him. You've got options, So once that hard call goes, and even, superstars are dropped, I'm saying, Rohit Sharma, you can speak to him that you're not batting well. It's no harm taking a step back, rather than just, again, making it worse, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. So just if you make the hard call, you have the mandate or not, that is for us to see in 2 days' time. But, if you're seen to be doing the right thing, at least things fall into place.
Atul, Gautam Gambhir seems
Rika,
to have...
can I just say one more thing?
Yes, please go on.
At this point, that in the, the Rishabh Pant is being sort of said that he's the guy who might have to sort of face the axe in a sense, but he's been your leading batsman for the last 5 years. So there have been cracks in your batting lineup for the last 5 years. You've been seeing your top players not really performing, your 2-star stellar batsmen not really performing. That's not really been addressed, particularly in Test cricket. It's not been addressed. So that's why we are in this situation where you can't do one thing. If you're going to drop Rishabh Pant, he's been your most successful batsman in the last 5 years. You're going to drop him on the basis of 2 or 3 bad shots that he played, which, okay, he did. So that situation, everything has sort of come home to roost at this point in the most, a place where everything should have been firing perfectly.
Atul, while we are picking on the batters not firing and rather batters playing ridiculous shots, the bowlers, except for Bumrah, didn't seem to come to the party. Was it then a good decision to drop Harshit Rana?
That is again, I question that because, you were so, over the top with his bowling. Then suddenly this guy plays first time with the pink ball and then you get disheartened with him. But, that is, I think, besides the point because I think the bowlers, these are the bowlers we've got. If two of them click on a day with Bumrah, then we do well. Otherwise, we struggle. That's why the Boland and Nathan Lyons, the partnership cost us this match actually. But rather than do that, I think, the horses of courses, Sundar is the kind of bowler, but Sundar and Jadeja are the same kind of bowler. Why is Kuldeep Yadav not playing? I don't understand because he's the kind of bowler. At least if you don't have Ashwin,
Right.
who's like world class bowler, but these two guys, Sundar and Jadeja, will not actually run through the teams, and they're not like they're wonderful cricketers. But you need one specialist bowler. Nathan Lyon is a prime example. Even this fast pace bowling, focus attack, he still holds his place.
Shraddha, Atul mentioned about Ashwin not being there. There is news coming out from Australia that Ashwin retired also because of a fallout with Gautam Gambhir. Of course, we'll have to tell our viewers that we can't verify the information, but this is all source-based, and sources tell us that this may have happened. But was it? Let me ask you whether this was right on Ashwin's part to leave his team midway through the series, even if he had a fight with his coach.
Thanks, Rika, for asking that question because it's not been asked for the last maybe 10 days ever since the retirement announcement came. So again, this is like I was saying that this is Gambhir putting his side of the story out because this Ashwin and Gambhir differences kind of thing has been sent in. It's been like the undertone of why he was able to quit. It was quite surprising that he chose to quit mid-tour. A lot of in his defense, people say, look, he's not going to play. Why is he going to hang around a team? I mean, Anil Kumble traveled around the South Africa 2003 World Cup without playing a handful of games, and this is Anil Kumble. Right, and but he didn't go on a sulk and go back home in the middle of the tournament or retire or whatever. He didn't just give up. He didn't just stop. He had he thought he had something more to give. So it seemed like a little bit of an unfortunate decision that came. It seemed like there's an absence of leadership around this Indian team at the moment, and I don't mean just Gambhir as the central sort of oldest person in the adult in the room kind of thing. I mean in the past, would a cricketer have been allowed to step away from a tour by retiring for reasons other than injury if the board president would not have been called, or the board secretary would not have been called and said, "Sir, this is happening. This is what I want to do." But there is no such figure like that in the board. It's just this Indian team for the last 5-6 years has become a team that's been run by, controlled by, and by superstars, and there's no one who can stop them from doing whatever they want to do. And it's this superstar, even the coach, for example, and it's this superstar sort of management scenario that has brought us to this point where there is nobody that's there to say, okay, we need this decision to be taken. I'm not saying all the time you keep going back to the board officials, but certainly in a case when a player is going to leave your team midway through a tournament, right, where you are fighting for a place in the WTC final, where the series has not yet been decided, you would have had someone in administration. You should have had someone in administration step up and say, no, I'm sorry, you can't do this.
And we have never seen anything like this before. Atul, would you like to comment on that, please?
We have said a lot about this. I think, a lot of water under the bridge now. What are we going to do forward, going from here? Do we take a hardcore? Do we give the tap on the shoulders to people, or at least make the succession policy clear of some people who are in the cusp of it? Because as soon as we get down to making and starting the new cycle of rebuilding the team, then we are wasting time.
Right. But Atul, would you call this an act of indiscipline?
Not really, because everybody's on board. There's a leadership group on the tour. They've got selectors there. Everybody's in the loop. Our system has become very potent, very comprehensive. But suddenly only when the individual stars will not overwhelm the team with their persona, things will not change, because that is the culture of India, and we have to actually wait till the time this is sorted. The bigger underlying problem in India is that, the big stars sometimes call their own shots, and nobody's bigger than them, because anybody who's played more cricket than you is better than you.
Interesting. Let's talk a little bit about the upcoming Sydney Test 2 days from now. Shraddha, does Indian cricket team have a chance to square the series from here?
I mean, I'm hardcore, so I say yes always, you know. So it's like you just thinking that, okay, something's going to come around and your batting's going to come good. You're going to get a couple of hundreds from somewhere. Sydney is the best place for batting in Australia. It's the best place for spinners. So, you know, why not? But you'll need a sort of like a spark of a performance to be able to pull everyone along with them. You'll need that to happen. You don't want the kind of thing that's come out today in the press to come 2 days before a very big test match. I mean, the Australians must be thrilled that this is out there, the news is out there. So it's very obvious. So you need there to be a different sort of an environment inside the dressing room to have somebody sort of pull themselves out of this sort of funk that the team is in. And you would want one older performer, like a senior performer, to do it. You're seeing a lot of young players that are coming up with incredible performances. Yashasvi, Nitish Reddy, KL Rahul's had a good series up and down the order. But you'll want there to be one sort of spark of a performance to come through. But I'm just hoping that it will.
Shraddha, I must tell you that I personally enjoyed those headlines of the Australian tabloids and some of the Australian newspapers. They have been hilarious, to say the least. Atul, let me take the question back to you. India's chances of squaring the series, and if they are to do so, what do they have to do from here on?
I think first of all, Virat has to fall down to number 5, give Nitish the number 4 spot. You know, just anybody who's actually more attuned with the environment and, you know, less pressure because he's already got the 100. So you take some bold calls. You know, Rohit is going to play, but I would have thought that maybe he'll just sit out and take the bigger call because the time of non-playing captains is almost on cricket already. So I think he'll be a bigger man because he's not batting well. He knows that. And just hope and pray that one of the spinners actually gets going.
That really happens in Indian sport, isn't it? The captain sitting out, and this is not tennis. We are talking about cricket. We'll, of course, have to wait and see what happens in Sydney Test. We'll hope that India is able to square the series, even if they don't reach the World Test Championship final. Thank you very much, Atul and Shraddha, for joining me on the broadcast.